So, thank you very much for coming and for accepting this interview that will help us understand and record the Swedish lines of thought in this subject, and also exchanging, which is what we are doing in this conference. Anne is from Sweden, and she teaches at the University of Agriculture.
Agricultural Sciences.
Agricultural Sciences in Stockholm.
Actually,
it's not in Stockholm, it's near.
It's in Uppsala and in Alnarp.
Okay.
And my position is in Alnarp, in the south of Sweden. Yes.
And so we have questions that deal with the modernism. I was just referring that we have a special value of the Scandinavian countries, and in this case Sweden, to be able to have been a very important contributor to the avant-garde of the modernism, because there were special men who were capable, and women,
yes.
and women who were capable to lead this trend and open up and actually innovate. So can you give us a little bit of that?
The innovations. I mean, the Stockholm Park program in the early 1940s, they set some kind of standards for park planning in Sweden, but also in Europe and the United States at that time. And the ideas of this park program, they were transmitted or transferred into ideas in other countries as well, connecting parks in cities, for example, for recreation and play, and for the citizens to enjoy. That's one example. Any other examples?
I was thinking of people.
Oh, people, yes. Actually, in Sweden, the first firm of landscape architecture was established in the 1920s with Sven Hermelin and Inger Wedborn. And those two were actually, they were not alone, but they actually got so many projects going on. So they did a lot of them in the 20s and 30s. So they were actually also setting some kind of standards for landscape architecture in Sweden.
And what was their preparation? What was their education?
They were educated in Sven Hermelin, I think, Germany. And Inger Wedborn also, but also in England. And then we have Ulla Bodorf, almost at the same time, the first woman to start a landscape architecture firm. Ulla, yes. And she got her education in Reading, in England.
In England, in Reading.
So those ideals were dominating in Sweden at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you need pioneers, you need people who are breaking ground and opening and doing things, which is what you had.
Yes, we had that.
What about the exchanges and the link between those people and Europe as far as the other European countries? Did they?
Yes, there was, I mean, IFLA, of course, was a connection.
Okay, that's what I wanted to check.
Yes. And Sweden were involved very early on in IFLA. And the Garden Architect Association started in 1921.
That's very early.
Yes.
That's
but
great.
The formal education of landscape architects, it was not established until 1971.
Okay.
So there was training going on in both Germany and England, but also in Copenhagen at that time.
So the fact that you are in agriculture school, which is something that I praise very much, because I think that it's very important that the students learn the natural processes. And there's no better place to learn it than the place where you produce, you really want to cooperate with nature to produce things. Sometimes we know we have gone too far on the cooperation as far as man is alive is concerned. But the thing is the fact that you learn soils, plants, hydraulics, hydrology,
how it
botany,
works. Yes.
and really study it seriously as a science, then becomes a great ground where you then prepare the students for the aesthetics. And so what do you have to say about this? Do you think this is the right formula, or how does it work in Sweden?
It's actually a continuing discussion. It's continuously ongoing discussion about the amounts of knowledge in vegetation design and plants and science. I mean, the soils, for example, and the chemistry, and the design, and also the planning. I mean, we have planning and management is also an issue.
Absolutely.
And all those things, and also environmental psychology and those things,
which are new now.
Yes. So it's a competition between the subjects. A bit.
But does the preparation on science is worth it for that, or do you think we should reverse something?
Reverse how?
Start with social sciences, design, and end up with a scientific botany, for example.
Actually, there was a change a few years back. I mean, to be accepted to the landscape architect program before 2015, I think, you needed a science background.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But then it was changed so that you could both have a science background or a social science background.
Okay.
So there is a combination of students. So therefore we had to adjust the education program for those students who were not in the science.
You really need to give them the science now.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So we have to really make sure that they get that.
Okay.
But since they do not have that background, it can be difficult for them to understand and to work with it.
Very good. So do you have something to say about what you saw so far about the conference?
Oh yes, it's been very interesting to see, I mean, both the Swedish and the Danish landscape architects, they have been mentioned. And I was actually a bit surprised because they also have been involved in exchanges in other countries. I mean, some of them I knew already, but there's so much more knowledge to actually gather here and to dig deeper into. It's really, really interesting. So I got so many ideas for future research and collaborations and everything. So it's really interesting.
I had exactly the same feeling because I think that it is such an interesting amount of relation and that we see and we didn't know. So we really need to study more on this subject, which will soon become historic.
Yes,
the modernist garden.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.